Commander Zarathek stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the stars through the crystal viewing dome. Her tall figure moved with grace as she walked between the control stations. The Velian fleet had been patrolling this sector for 3 days now. 6 beautiful ships glided through space like dancers. Each ship was made from living crystal that grew and healed itself. The hulls shimmered with blue and silver light. Zarathek had commanded fleets for over 200 years. She was proud of her service to the Velian Empire. Her people had ruled this part of the galaxy for thousands of years. They were the most advanced race anyone knew. Their technology was like magic to younger species. Most aliens bowed down when they saw Velian ships approaching. The bridge was quiet and peaceful. Soft music played in the background. The crew worked at their stations with calm movements. Everything was perfect and ordered. This was how civilization should be. The Velians had learned long ago that war was messy and ugly. Better to show your power and let others surrender without fighting. Sub-Commander Lyranis looked up from her science station. Her crystal skin caught the light as she turned her head. "Commander, we have something strange on the sensors." Zarathek walked over to look at the display. "What is it?" "A ship approaching from the outer rim." "It is big, but the design is very strange. The hull appears to be made of metal alloys, very primitive materials." Zarathek studied the sensor reading. The ship was indeed large, but it looked crude and ugly. Sharp angles and rough surfaces covered its hull. It had no beauty or grace. "How fast is it moving?" "Slower than our ships, but it has steady speed. The propulsion system uses chemical rockets and some kind of reaction drive. Very old technology." The commander felt curious about this strange vessel. In all her years of service, she had never seen anything quite like it. Most younger races tried to copy Velian designs when they built ships. This one looked like it was built by someone who had never seen proper spacecraft before. "Can you identify the species?" Lyranis worked at her controls for a moment. "No match in our databases. The ship design is completely unknown. But, Commander, there is something odd about their course." "What do you mean?" "They are heading straight for the Zephyr Nebula. That area has dangerous radiation and gravity wells. Most ships avoid it." Zarathek thought about this. The nebula was indeed dangerous, but it also contained valuable minerals. Perhaps these aliens were miners looking for resources. That would explain the crude ship design. Miners often cared more about function than beauty. "Set course to intercept them. I want to get a closer look at this ship." The Velian fleet changed direction smoothly. Their crystal hulls caught the light from nearby stars as they turned. The ships moved like a school of fish swimming through water. Perfect formation and timing showed the skill of their crews. As they got closer, the alien ship became clearer on the sensors. It was massive and covered in weapons. Zarathek counted dozens of gun turrets and missile pods. The hull was thick and heavily armored. This was clearly a warship, not a mining vessel. "Commander, they are scanning us," Lyranis reported. "Let them look. I want to scan them too, but be careful. Use passive sensors only. I do not want to seem threatening." The science officer worked quietly at her station. After a few minutes, she looked up with confusion on her face. "Commander, this is very strange. They are blocking our scans with some kind of jamming field. I cannot get clear readings on their internal systems." Zarathek felt surprised. Jamming technology was advanced stuff. How could such a primitive-looking ship have sophisticated electronic warfare systems? "Keep trying. Use different frequencies." "I am trying, but their jamming adapts to our scans. This technology is more advanced than it appears." The commander studied the alien ship on the main display. It looked brutal and ugly compared to Velian vessels. But if it had good jamming systems, maybe there was more to these aliens than she first thought. Still, no race in this sector had ever challenged Velian authority. These newcomers would learn to respect the Empire just like all the others. "Open a communication channel. Let us talk to these aliens and find out what they want." The communications officer worked at his station. "Channel open, Commander." Zarathek stepped forward and spoke in her most commanding voice. "Unknown vessel. This is Commander Zarathek of the Velian Imperial Fleet. You are entering restricted space. Identify yourself and state your business here." For a long moment there was no response. Then the speakers crackled to life. A voice answered in perfect Velian language. "This is Captain Lisa Morgan of the UES Defiance. We are conducting routine patrol operations in free space." Zarathek felt shocked. The alien spoke Velian without any accent or hesitation. How had they learned the Imperial language? And what did they mean by free space? This entire sector belonged to the Velian Empire. "Captain Morgan, you are mistaken. This space is claimed by the Velian Empire. All ships must request permission before entering our territory." "I am afraid we do not recognize such claims over empty space, Commander. We will continue our mission as planned." The audacity of these aliens amazed Zarathek. No one had spoken to her like this in decades. Younger races always showed proper respect for Velian authority. These humans seemed different somehow. She decided to be patient and explain things clearly. "Captain, your ship appears to be alone and far from home. We have 6 warships in our fleet. Perhaps you should reconsider your position." "We appreciate the information, Commander. However, our position remains unchanged." Zarathek looked at the tactical display. The human ship was indeed alone against 6 Velian vessels. Either these aliens were very brave or very foolish. Time would tell which one it was. Zarathek felt amused by the human captain's stubborn attitude. In all her years of command, she had never met a species so confident when facing superior numbers. The human ship looked powerful, but it was still just 1 vessel against 6. Mathematics was simple even for primitive minds. "Captain Morgan, I think you do not understand the situation. Your single ship cannot hope to match our fleet. We are offering you a chance to leave peacefully." The human voice came back calm and steady. "Commander, we understand the situation perfectly. We suggest you withdraw to avoid any unfortunate incidents." Lyranis looked up from her station with wide eyes. She had never heard aliens speak to Velians this way. Most species begged for mercy when they saw the Imperial fleet. These humans acted like they held all the advantages. Zarathek decided to learn more about these strange beings. "Tell me, Captain, what brings humans so far from your home system? This sector has been Velian territory for 3,000 years. We have been watching your empire for some time, Commander. Human ships have visited many systems in this region. We know much about Velian technology and tactics." The commander felt a chill run down her spine. Humans had been spying on the Empire without anyone knowing. How was that possible? Velian sensors were the best in the galaxy. No ship could enter their space without being detected. Impossible. Our sensor networks would have detected any foreign vessels. "Your sensors are indeed impressive. However, human stealth technology has certain advantages. We have observed many Velian fleet movements over the past 5 years. Zarathek turned to her tactical officer. "Is this possible? Could ships have entered our space without detection?" The officer checked his instruments carefully. "Commander, our sensors show no other ships in this system. But if they have advanced stealth systems..." How advanced could they be? Look at that crude metal ship. It appears to be built with primitive materials and old technology. Captain Morgan's voice interrupted her thoughts. "Appearances can be deceiving, Commander. Human engineering follows different principles than Velian design." The human captain sounded educated and intelligent. Her knowledge of Velian language was perfect. She seemed to understand their technology and military tactics. This was not some random encounter with primitive aliens. These humans had planned this meeting carefully. "What do you want in this sector, Captain?" "We are establishing human presence in this region of space. Several star systems here contain resources we need for our colonies. Those systems belong to the Velian Empire. We have claimed them for thousands of years." "Claims must be backed by actual presence and use, Commander. Most of these systems have no Velian settlements or mining operations. Under human law, that makes them available for colonization." Zarathek felt her patience wearing thin. These humans spoke about law as if they were equals to the Velian Empire. They acted like their primitive civilization had the same rights as an advanced spacefaring race. "Human law has no authority in Velian space. You will submit to Imperial authority or face the consequences." "We recognize no such authority over free space, Commander. Human ships will continue their operations regardless of Velian objections." The Commander had heard enough of this foolishness. Time to show these aliens what happened when they challenged the Empire. She would demonstrate Velian power in a way they could not ignore. Captain Morgan, you are making a serious mistake. I will give you one final chance to withdraw. Our position remains unchanged, Commander. Zarathek turned to her weapons officer. Charge the plasma cannons. Target their engine section with a low power burst. Do not destroy the ship, but disable their propulsion. Yes, Commander. Weapons charging now. The Velian ships moved into attack formation. Their crystal hulls began to glow as energy flowed through their weapon systems. Blue light pulsed along the surface of each vessel. The display was beautiful and terrifying. Most enemies surrendered when they saw Velian weapons powering up. The human ship showed no reaction. It continued on its course without changing speed or direction. Either the humans were incredibly brave, or they did not understand what was about to happen. Weapons charged and ready, Commander. Fire a warning shot across their bow first. Let them see our power before we disable them. A beam of blue plasma shot from the flagship toward the human vessel. The energy bolt passed just in front of the ship's nose. The plasma was hot enough to melt most known metals. Any normal captain would surrender immediately after seeing such a demonstration. No response from the human ship, Commander. They are maintaining course and speed. Zarathek shook, her head in disbelief. These aliens were either completely insane, or they had more confidence than any species deserved. Time to end this foolishness. Target their engines. Fire! The plasma beam lanced out toward the human ship. It struck the rear section where the engines should be located. Zarathek expected to see explosions and damage. Instead, the beam seemed to scatter harmlessly against the hull. The metal armor glowed briefly but showed no signs of damage. What happened? Did we miss the target? The weapons officer checked his instruments. No, Commander. Direct hit on their engine section. But the beam had no effect. Their armor absorbed the energy somehow. Lyranis looked up from her science station. Commander, I am reading massive energy spikes from the human ship. They are powering up weapons systems. Weapons systems? What kind of weapons? I cannot get clear readings through their jamming, but the energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases. Captain Morgan's voice came over the communication channel. Her tone was no longer friendly and diplomatic. Commander Zarathek, your ships have just fired on a human vessel. Under our military code, that constitutes an act of war. We are authorized to respond with deadly force. Zarathek felt confused and worried. The plasma beam should have crippled any ship in the galaxy. How had the humans survived a direct hit without any damage? And what kind of weapons were they powering up? Captain, that was only a warning shot. We did not intend to start a war. Intent is irrelevant, Commander. You opened fire on a human warship. We will now demonstrate why that was a mistake. The human ship began to turn toward the Velian fleet. Its ugly metal hull bristled with weapon ports and missile tubes. Strange energy readings pulsed through its systems. Whatever technology these humans possessed, it was nothing like Velian science. Zarathek realized she might have made a terrible error in judgment. The human ship completed its turn and faced the Velian fleet directly. Zarathek watched the tactical display with growing concern. Energy readings from the alien vessel were climbing to dangerous levels. Whatever weapons they possessed were nothing like Velian technology. Commander, the human ship is locking targeting systems on our vessels, reported the tactical officer. His voice carried a note of worry that Zarathek had never heard before. How? Is that possible? Our jamming systems should prevent any lock-on attempts. Their targeting systems are cutting through our electronic warfare like it does not exist. I have never seen anything like this technology. Captain Morgan's voice came over the speakers again. This time she sounded like a military commander preparing for battle. All Velian vessels, this is your final warning. Withdraw immediately, or we will open fire. Zarathek felt anger rising in her chest. No alien had ever threatened the Velian Imperial fleet. These humans would learn the price of such arrogance. All ships, battle formation. Prepare to engage the enemy vessel. The 6 Velian ships moved into their standard attack pattern. Crystal hulls gleamed as energy flowed through their weapon systems. The formation had worked perfectly for centuries against every enemy they had faced. No single ship could stand against the coordinated fire of an entire fleet. Target acquired, Commander. All ships report ready to fire. Fire at will. Destroy that ship. 6 beams of plasma energy lanced out toward the human vessel. The combined firepower should have vaporized any ship in the galaxy. But as the beams struck the metal hull, they scattered and dispersed like water hitting a rock. The armor glowed white-hot, but held firm. "Impossible," whispered Lyranus. "How can any material withstand that much energy?" The human ship's response was immediate and devastating. Points of light flashed along its hull as weapons fired. But these were not energy beams like Velian plasma cannons. Solid projectiles shot toward the fleet at incredible speed. "Incoming missiles," called the tactical officer. "Multiple contacts, high-velocity approach. Activate point defense systems. Shoot them down." The Velian ships tried to intercept the incoming projectiles, but the missiles were too fast and too numerous. Several smaller objects broke away from the main missiles as they approached. These sub-munitions spread out to target different ships. The first projectile struck the cruiser Starweaver. Instead of the expected explosion, a solid metal rod punched through the crystal hull like a spear through glass. The kinetic energy was enormous. The rod passed completely through the ship and out the other side. Starweaver's hull cracked and shattered around the impact point. Crystal fragments scattered into space as the ship broke apart. Emergency alarms sounded across the fleet as the beautiful vessel died in seconds. "Report. What happened to Starweaver?" "Hull breach. Multiple systems failure. The ship is breaking." "Up, Commander." Zarathek stared at the tactical display in shock. One of her ships was gone, destroyed by a single projectile. How could a simple metal rod cause such damage? Velian ships were designed to absorb energy weapons, not solid impacts. "Commander, more incoming projectiles. They are targeting the Moonbeam and Crystal Song." "Evasive maneuvers. All ships scatter formation." The Velian ships tried to dodge, but the human projectiles tracked their movements. 2 more metal rods struck home. Moonbeam's central hull cracked as the projectile tore through its core systems. Crystal Song took a hit to its engine section and began spinning out of control. "This cannot be happening," Zarathek said to herself. "How can primitive kinetic weapons defeat our defenses?" Lyranus looked up from her science station with fear in her eyes. "Commander, I am analyzing the projectile impacts. These are not missiles or explosives. They are solid metal rods fired at extreme velocity. Our energy shields have no effect against physical objects moving this fast." The human ship continued its attack with cold efficiency. More projectiles streaked across space toward the remaining Velian vessels. Each shot was perfectly aimed and timed. The humans fought like machines, showing no emotion or hesitation. "Return fire. All remaining ships, concentrate on that vessel." The 3 surviving Velian ships fired their plasma cannons again. The energy beams struck the human hull but caused no visible damage. The metal armor seemed designed specifically to resist energy weapons. "Our weapons are having no effect, Commander. Their armor is deflecting our plasma beams. Increase power. Maximum energy output." "We are already at maximum power. The beams just scatter when they hit the hull." Another human projectile struck the cruiser Dancing Light. The solid rod punched through the crystal hull and hit the main reactor. The explosion tore the ship in half as its power systems overloaded. Debris and crystal fragments filled the space around the dying vessel. Zarathek realized with growing horror that her fleet was being destroyed by technology she did not understand. The humans used simple kinetic weapons while Velians relied on advanced energy systems, but in this battle, simple was winning. "Commander, we have lost 4 ships. Only Singing Waters and our flagship remain operational." "How is this possible? We are the most advanced race in the galaxy." "The humans fight differently than any enemy we have faced. Their weapons use brute force instead of elegant energy manipulation." The human ship adjusted its position for another attack run. Its ugly metal hull bristled with more weapon ports than Zarathek had originally counted. Each gun turret tracked independently, covering different areas of space. This was a vessel designed by warriors who understood the brutal mathematics of combat. Captain Morgan's voice came over the communication system. "Commander Zarathek, you have lost 4 ships to our defensive fire. We strongly suggest you withdraw before we are forced to destroy your remaining vessels." "Defensive fire? You call this defensive?" "You opened fire first, Commander. We are simply protecting ourselves from hostile action." Zarathek looked at the tactical display showing her two remaining ships against the undamaged human vessel. Everything she had believed about Velian superiority was crumbling around her. These crude metal ships and their primitive kinetic weapons were proving more effective than centuries of advanced Velian technology. What do you want from us? Withdraw your ships and carry a message back to your empire. Humanity is claiming territorial rights in this sector. Any future aggression will be met with overwhelming force. The commander realized she had no choice but to accept the human terms. Her fleet was broken and her ships were dying. Pride would not bring back her dead crews or restore her shattered vessels. Zarathek ordered her remaining ships to fall back to a safe distance. The two surviving vessels, her flagship and the cruiser Singing Waters, retreated several thousand kilometers from the human warship. She needed time to think and assess this. Disaster! Commander, should we call for reinforcements? Asked the tactical officer. Do it. Send an emergency signal to Fleet Command. Tell them we need immediate support. The communications officer worked at his station for several minutes before looking up with confusion. Commander, our long-range communications are being jammed. I cannot reach Fleet Command. What do you mean, jammed? From where? The interference is coming from the human ship. They are blocking all our communication frequencies. Zarathek felt a chill of fear. The humans had not only destroyed most of her fleet, they had also cut off her escape route. No one in the Empire knew where she was or what had happened. This was not random combat, it was a carefully planned trap. How long can they maintain the jamming? Unknown, Commander. Their power systems are unlike anything we have encountered. They might be able to jam our signals indefinitely. Lyranis looked up from her science station. Commander, I am detecting new activity from the human ship. They are launching small craft. What kind of small craft? They appear to be assault pods, heavily armored and moving in our direction. Zarathek stared at the tactical display. Small objects were separating from the human ship and flying toward her vessels. She had never seen anything like them before. What are assault pods? I believe they are designed to carry soldiers for boarding actions, Commander. Boarding actions? You mean they plan to capture our ships? That appears to be their intention. The concept was horrifying to Zarathek. Velian warfare was conducted at long range with energy weapons. Ships fought from safe distances without personal contact. The idea of enemy soldiers actually entering her vessel was like something from ancient barbarian history. How many pods are approaching? 12 pods, Commander. 6 heading for our ship, and 6 for Singing Waters. Zarathek opened a communication channel to Captain Morgan. Captain, what is the meaning of this? Why are you sending boarding pods? You attempted to destroy our ship, Commander, under human, military law that makes your vessels legitimate prizes of war. We are taking them as compensation for your hostile actions. This is barbaric. Civilized species do not board enemy ships. Different species have different customs, Commander. Human military doctrine includes close combat operations when necessary. The assault pods continued their approach despite the Velian attempts to shoot them down. Point defense weapons fired streams of energy at the incoming craft, but the pods seemed heavily shielded. Most shots bounced off their armor without causing damage. Commander, the pods are almost at docking. Range. Should we abandon ship? Zarathek considered the option but realized they had nowhere to go. Her life pods would be helpless in open space against human weapons. Better to remain on the ship and try to negotiate. Open all internal channels. Tell the crew to prepare for boarding. Do not resist the humans. I do not want any unnecessary deaths. The first assault pod attached to the hull near the main airlock. Cutting tools began working through the outer doors. Advanced technology allowed the humans to breach Velian security systems within minutes. Commander, they are inside the ship. Human soldiers are moving through the lower decks. How many soldiers? Sensor readings are unclear, but at least 20 armed humans per pod. Zarathek tried to imagine what human soldiers would look like. Most alien species were smaller and weaker than Velians, but if their ships were any indication, humans might be different from other races. The bridge doors opened and armed figures entered. Zarathek got her first close look at human beings. They were shorter than Velians, but much broader and more muscular. Heavy armor covered their bodies, and they carried weapons she did not recognize. The lead soldier removed her helmet to reveal a female face with short brown hair and sharp eyes. I am Colonel Kate Sullivan of the Human Marine Corps. You are now prisoners of war. I am Commander Zarathek of the Velian Imperial Navy. I protest this illegal boarding of my ship. Your protest is noted, Commander. However, you opened fire on a human vessel without provocation. That makes this a legitimate military action. Zarathek studied the human colonel. She moved with the confidence of a professional warrior. Her equipment was practical and efficient rather than elegant. These beings were clearly designed for warfare in ways that Velians were not. What do you intend to do with my crew? Your people will be treated according to the laws of war. No harm will come to them as long as they cooperate. Other human soldiers spread throughout the bridge, securing control stations and checking for weapons. They worked with smooth efficiency that spoke of long training and experience. Everything they did served a military purpose. Colonel, how long have humans been preparing for war with the Velian Empire? We have been studying galactic civilizations for decades, Commander. Your empire was of particular interest due to its size and military capabilities. You have been spying on us. We prefer the term intelligence gathering. Humans believe in being prepared for all possibilities. The human colonel examined the bridge controls with professional interest. She seemed to understand Velian technology despite its alien design. Your ships are beautiful, Commander, but they are not built for real combat? What do you mean? Your vessels are designed for fighting enemies who use similar technology. Energy shields work well against energy weapons, but they offer no protection against kinetic attacks. Kinetic weapons are primitive and crude. Primitive, perhaps, but very effective. Sometimes the simplest solutions work best. Zarathek watched, human soldiers taking control of her ship. They handled the alien technology with surprising skill. These beings had clearly studied Velian systems in great detail. Colonel, what will happen to us now? You and your crew will be taken to a human facility for processing. Your ships will be studied to better understand Velian technology. The Empire will never allow this. They will send fleets to rescue us. Perhaps, Commander. But by then, we will be long gone with valuable intelligence about your military capabilities. The colonel activated a communication device on her wrist. Command, this is Sullivan. Both vessels are secure. No casualties on either side. Captain Morgan's voice responded immediately. Acknowledged, Colonel. Prepare for departure. We have what we came for. Zarathek realized that this entire encounter had been planned from the beginning. The humans had not stumbled into Velian space by accident. They had come here specifically to test their weapons against the Imperial fleet. Her ships and crews were just convenient targets for their military exercise. You planned this attack from the start. We planned for many possibilities, Commander. Your aggressive response simply determined which plan we implemented. The human colonel studied Zarathek with calculating eyes. Your empire has ruled this sector for a long time. Perhaps it is time for a change in management. The human marines finished securing both Velian ships within an hour. Zarathek watched in amazement as they efficiently cataloged equipment and prepared the vessels for transport. These soldiers worked with a level of organization she had never seen before. Colonel Sullivan approached the commander with a datapad in her hands. Commander Zarathek, you and your surviving crew will be released in one of your escape pods. We are keeping your ships for study. You cannot simply steal Imperial vessels. The Empire will consider this an act of war. The Empire can consider it whatever they wish. Your ships fired on a human vessel without provocation. Under our laws, that makes them legitimate salvage. Zarathek felt helpless anger building inside her. Everything she had believed about Velian superiority was crumbling. These crude metal ships and their warrior crews had destroyed her fleet like it was nothing. What message do you want us to carry back? Tell your leaders that humanity is expanding. Into this sector, we claim all uninhabited systems within 50 light years of this position. Any interference with human operations will result in military action. The Empire will never accept such demands. That is their choice, Commander, but they should understand what they would be facing. Colonel Sullivan gestured toward the main display showing the human warship. The UES Defiance is just one vessel from our fleet. We have hundreds more just like it. Each one is crewed by professional soldiers with centuries of combat experience. Centuries. How long have humans been fighting wars? We have been at war with each other for our entire history. Only recently did we unite under a single government. That experience taught us many lessons about combat. Zarathek tried to imagine a species that had spent thousands of years perfecting the art of warfare. The Velians had known peace for so long they had forgotten how to fight properly. Their weapons and tactics were designed for quick victories against weak enemies. How many ships do you have? Enough to defend our interest, Commander. Human. Space contains over 200 colonies with massive industrial capacity. We can build fleets faster than most species can count them. The numbers were staggering. Zarathek had thought the Velian Empire was large with its 30 inhabited systems, but human space dwarfed the Empire in size and population. Why are you expanding into our territory? This is not your territory, Commander. Space belongs to whoever can claim and hold it. Your empire has grown weak through centuries of easy victories. You have forgotten that strength requires constant vigilance. Captain Morgan's voice came over the communication system. Colonel, prepare for departure. We have extracted all useful intelligence from the captured vessels. Acknowledged, Captain. Prisoner transfer beginning now. Human soldiers escorted Zarathek and her surviving crew to the escape pods. The pods were small but adequate for short-range travel. Emergency supplies would keep them alive until rescue arrived. Commander, before you go, I want you to understand something important, Colonel Sullivan said. This encounter was not random chance. Human intelligence has been monitoring Velian fleet movements for months. We chose this location specifically to test our weapons against your ships. You used us as test subjects. We needed to know how effective our technology would be against advanced alien vessels. Your fleet provided excellent data for our tactical analysts. The casual way the Colonel discussed using living beings for weapons testing horrified Zarathek. These humans treated war like a science experiment. No wonder they were so effective at combat. What did you learn from this test? That Velian ships are vulnerable to kinetic weapons despite their advanced energy defenses. Your tactics rely too heavily on technological superiority. When facing enemies with different capabilities, your formations and strategies become weaknesses. Zarathek realized the Colonel was giving her valuable intelligence about human thinking. Perhaps this information could help the Empire prepare better defenses. Why are you telling me this? Because we want your leaders to understand what they are facing. Ignorance leads to unnecessary deaths on both sides. Knowledge might encourage wiser decisions. The escape pod sealed and separated from the captured Velian ship. Through the small viewport, Zarathek watched human vessels preparing to leave. The UES Defiance looked even more intimidating up close. Its brutal design spoke of a species that understood violence in ways Velians never would. Other escape pods from the Singing Waters joined her small craft. In total, only 43 crew members had survived from the original fleet of 300. The human attack had been devastatingly effective. Commander, what should we tell Fleet Command? Asked one of the surviving officers. The truth. We encountered a species that fights wars better than we do. Our ships and weapons are inadequate against human technology. The pods drifted slowly toward the edge of the system where Velian rescue ships might eventually find them. Behind them, the human fleet was already disappearing into hyperspace with their captured prizes. Zarathek began composing her report in her mind. How could she explain this disaster to the Imperial High Command? 6 ships lost, valuable technology stolen, and hundreds of crew members dead or missing, all because she had underestimated an unknown enemy. The Velian Empire would have to face some difficult truths. Their dominance of this sector was ending. A new power had arrived with better weapons and superior tactics. The age of easy Velian victories was over. As the escape pod continued its journey, Zarathek thought about the human soldiers she had met. They were professional, efficient, and completely without mercy. These beings had turned warfare into an art form through centuries of constant conflict. Other alien species throughout the sector would soon learn what she had discovered. Metal ships crewed by human warriors were patrolling the trade routes. The galaxy was about to become a much more dangerous place. The Velian Empire would have to choose between accepting human expansion or fighting a war they were not equipped to win. Either way, the universe had changed forever. Humanity had announced its presence in the most unmistakable way possible. In the distance, emergency beacons began transmitting distress signals. Soon, other Velian ships would arrive to investigate the missing fleet. They would find only debris and escape pods with stories of impossible defeat. Word would spread quickly through alien communication networks. Whispers of metal ships and warrior crews would reach every corner of known space. The age of human expansion had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.